Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
Good job.
Awesome. And you said
Maybe
this is
I'll
the
take
first.
one of those extra pillows.
You want one?
Yeah.
First pair of shorts. You said in the podcast. Am I the first pair of shorts?
I think that you are.
I think this is
We've
the first
not
one.
shot-
This is the first one with legs.
First one with legs.
Yeah.
Can we please have already started? Could this be the beginning?
This is it. This is the
that
beginning.
We're recording.
But you always do a
Should
clap.
I kind of want to.
This is your house.
I know. These are my songwriting clothes. Like summertime.
mean-
It's almost summer.
It feels like summer.
Or
This
will
is-
it be summer
This is
at
warmer
the
than
time?
Canada.
I mean, this
ever.
is Canadian summer, right?
Canadian summer.
Yeah.
Do you ever wear shorts in Canada?
Canadian?
Do you wear shorts ever?
Yeah.
There's short days.
No, of course.
Yeah, oh yeah, for like 2 months of the whole
I
year.
just always
2
picture it
days.
Like you've never been there.
I always just picture it like the movie The Santa Claus. I think it was the third Santa Claus movie where they pretend the North Pole is Canada. And
I mean, they're not far off, but your 2 Canadian fans will tell you.
I told you I have 2 Canadian fans.
Guys, come on. Set us straight. That is not true. If you're a Canadian fan of Matthew West, come on, comment
there's-
below when we post this.
There's 2 that I know of that come to my shows in the States.
Trust us.
And they always bring me Canadian food. Canadian,
Yeah.
You had one
Are
here.
you not allowed to go to Canada? Is that why they?
No,
they
I
cross over?
should. I don't know if. I just don't know that Canada wants me. I think
We've had people request us to sing one of your songs in Canada.
like at your show,
Yeah,
like
I'm
shouting.
like, thanks a lot, guys.
Don't play your
This is
song.
our show.
Well, we
I'm
should
not
do
opening for Matthew West right now.
They're like,
Come
yelling,
on.
play some Zeppelin, play some Matthew West.
Zeppelin and Matthew. Those are your 2 biggest
Yeah,
requests.
those are the ones.
Anything but your own. I've had that before. Like,
Oh, man.
well, we should play a Canada show together.
Yeah, let's.
Could open for you guys.
Yeah.
Those are your people.
Well,
Yeah, you could open for us. Sure. Yeah, that'll work.
let's just
Let
go
me
with
do
that.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. So we're here in your studio. This is awesome.
This is fun. We've had a great day.
We rode all day.
Yes, we did. We got here, like we dropped off the kids at school, and then came here to this. This is all kind of brand new, isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
like the beach, not at the beach.
Hey, we broke in this studio today, basically, with
For real?
loving the outcome style. We broke it in today. You're the first Canadians I've had in my studio, so that's.
Yeah.
I should have brought you a gift or an award or something.
You did.
I
You
did.
made us the Wespresso.
I made you an espresso drink.
It was
Yeah.
so good.
It's pretty good.
No, for real. It's kind of like songwriting camp for me today.
Well,
Like I'm at your studio. Well, it's a lot of like pinch me moments for real. Because when I first met you, okay, our Christmas tour, would that have been? It was the Caleb Christmas tour.
the Caleb,
No, I think it was the Bible tour.
the Bible tour.
We've actually been on a lot of tours.
It was the
together.
Bible tour.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I don't
Milo's
know.
first tour.
You had new Milo.
Oh,
He-
he was
he
so
was fresh.
tiny.
Yeah.
And I just remember because you dressed up like Santa Claus.
I think I scared your
Oh,
little
this is
boy.
so good.
You guys, I have to
I
post
still have
a
that
link.
video on my phone. We'll insert it in here.
It was, I mean, everyone knows you're a jokester and you're hilarious, but we didn't know you very well yet. And
Yeah.
that moment, I was like, I love you so much.
Well, the idea was that I would. That's right. So that was a Christmas tour we were on.
I know, I'm trying, it's all a jumble.
Okay, no, we did the Bible tour, but then you did the Santa Claus thing on the new song Christmas.
That's
tour.
what it was. And I was. The
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
was that I would hide in unlikely places and then just jump out and yell, "Nice or naughty."
And to a 9-month-old, it's a little
Yeah, I should have thought about that. But to my band members,
Oh,
I
so
think my
good.
band members were more frightened than your 9-month-old. Because I hid in the bathroom of our tour bus, which, how do you hide in it's a tiny little bathroom. But I went right after our show, dressed up as Santa, hid in the bathroom, and we waited for our drummer, which for some reason, he's the one who's the most fun to punk.
I'm trying
And
to
I
think of-
jumped out of that
Yeah.
bathroom and I said, "Naughty!" And he lost his mind. I mean, I'm pretty sure he wet his pants a little bit. So I don't know
So
about
did Milo, the diaper.
But he was already doing
Why is
it.
that? It's
Golden.
like, it's like never not funny. Like on Ellen's show when she has like people hiding in the
It's
thing.
always
And then they do it like 3 or 4 times in the same show, and everyone still loses their.
they're all still scared. Yeah,
It's always funny.
Have you thought of a TV show?
My own TV show?
Yeah.
I have not.
West knows best.
Yeah, West knows best. Ooh. Well, now I have. You can produce it, just like you produce this podcast. I had actually somebody came to me once about doing like a reality show.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I would. I think I'd get tired of having like the camera on the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, what's real and what's like
Yeah.
staged? Because all those reality shows that are on TV, like they're not real,
They're not real.
right? It's kind of what
Yeah.
we wrote about today, but like
It's totally what we wrote about.
it's like scripted reality, which
Yeah.
is sort of ironic.
People
Or-
would love it, but
totally.
you and your family would be like, I'm done.
Yeah. I
No.
think I would probably get tired. Would you guys enjoy that? I mean, maybe for a little while.
We actually shot a pilot, which would be funny to go back and watch.
See, I feel like you guys would do that well.
Oh man, it was awkward at the time. You know how a good idea and the wrong timing is just a wrong idea. Like it just
I
really
see what
has to
you're saying.
line up.
Yeah.
It was not the right timing. Like I watch it back and it felt so put on. I think the only way to do it, like I've talked to Sadie Robertson a little bit about it, and I really do think you must have to get to a point in life where you're more documenting than creating. And you're okay to be in that place of just like, yeah, this is like legit our life. Like
Yeah.
like really just living in front of the camera and not putting it on. Otherwise,
So
I'd
the
be
world's
done.
never seen that pilot that you did?
No.
And
No.
and they never will?
No, it was in our like first apartment in Nashville on Music Row. That was a dive.
Yeah.
But I will say this. There is part of like, sometimes I'll watch like documentaries of artists and like Coldplay or whatever, and it, or U2 is a great example where it seems like somebody was smart enough to have a camera rolling.
Yeah.
It seems like their entire career.
To get those nuggets.
And it's,
right?
yeah, because I
know.
do feel like there was one season. You know what I did one time? I filmed a documentary about a part of my story that I was in the middle of, and I had throat surgery, and I was told that I was going to be forced to be silent for this period of time.
Wow.
And a buddy of mine was a filmmaker, and I just kind of had him over to my house, and I was already silent at that point, but I was writing him notes, and I said, I just feel like if we captured this season where I have no voice, like maybe God could use it in a unique way. And it was sort of, when I think about it, it's like sort of ironic because how are you going to make a documentary literally when you can't talk?
Right.
But my buddy was foolish enough to go, you know what, I think this could be neat. And he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And what was funny is looking back now, I think it was actually pretty risky to do a documentary because I actually didn't know if my voice was going to heal.
You were sharing in the middle of the journey, not like it's figured out and I'm here.
Exactly, which I think is where that's where the real winds up happening. If we could find ourselves in that all the time, you know, we'd probably make an even greater impact. I think that's probably when we make the greatest impact on the world. But yeah,
it's so hard to share from that place.
Yeah, but you guys do a great job of like chronicling your family life and musical journey. Like I feel like when you came to the house today, I was able to ask you a few questions about like, hey, so what was stolen from your? Because I remember
you've been tracking.
Yeah, I've been kind of tracking your family, and I know your
Likewise,
kids.
I knew where your wife went for like their Mother's Day trip. I'm like, this is funny when you're like, at least we're real friends.
Yes.
Now we're not just Insta friends.
Well, once you write songs together, I feel like
it's so
friendship is forged.
Yeah.
Don't you? Because it's like
totally.
So much of songwriting is, and you've probably had your fill of me today in terms of like throwing out bad ideas until you get to good ones. And I think to be able to do that, you have to become like, you're going to become friends with someone when you're in that sort of like, what about this line?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm like the king, not that I'm the king of anything, but like, remember the show House where he would have people, you know, he was such a genius and he would have his team just be there for all the bad ideas and he'd be like, yeah, no, I don't like, you know what?
Whatever.
I just want
No. You guys.
I want you to get all the bad ideas out of the system, and then I'll figure it out.
And then
No
I'll
way,
hit you with
no.
this bass line that will slay you.
The slaying bass line. No, you
No,
guys are
for
super
real.
talented.
I feel like, though, like from that first tour together, because we didn't write until this last year.
Yeah, we never wrote when we were on the road together.
We didn't. And I think, like, it is intimidating when, I mean, you've got a lot of great songs and a lot
thank
of,
you.
like, #1 songs, a lot of awards, and it is really vulnerable. being
I've
in
got a lot of
environment like-
#2 songs. I didn't mean that metaphorically either.
I'd take some #2s, babe. Let's grab some #2s. No, but for real, it's like it's a gift to be on the road with you, but then also to get to do this part of life with you, like the songwriting camp of coming to your amazing house in your
Camp.
studio. And just like bringing a title. I try and force myself to always bring a title or like.
Oh, you guys do. I feel like that's to me the most life-giving is one. I mean, what's funny is like the fact that I make records as an artist, but then to be invited into somebody else's creative process, and no offense to like my own records, but I feel so alive when I get to be a part of somebody else's creative process, and it's a real honor for me. And so the biggest thing and the most important thing to me when I'm working with another artist is like their story, what they want to say,
Right.
how to be, and I'm in a different seat, and I
That's
try
true.
to stay in that seat. Like I think that's really important. Hopefully when we get to the end of our songs, you'll be like, he stayed in that seat, and we told our story, not his story. You know what I mean? And yet we all relate to this. I feel like the songs we've written, like, man, gosh, I feel that just as much.
Totally.
It's so cool how that happens. But what's funny is me getting to write with artists like you, like that all started out of rejection for me, because I got rejected as a recording artist for so long that I built a career as a songwriter just because no label was validating the song. Like they didn't think I was necessarily a strong enough artist in my own right, and so my songs were seeing the light of day by way of other artists who said, well, I like that song, or I would write with you.
Right.
And so now it's just
It's really crazy to think about that.
well, it's just full circle. Because now
totally.
it's like, wow, all these years later, now I get to make records. But I feel like the Lord showed me that he was going to use some of the skills as a songwriter that he had given me. But sometimes I wasn't going to be the one who carried that song.
Sure.
That somebody else would carry that song.
I mean,
which
what a
is really
gift
neat.
now that you can do both, and that you kept kind of planting seeds, so to speak. You're like, I know I have something to give in this. Like, I was made to do this. Which is like, it takes a certain amount of guts and confidence when you're rejected a few times. Like, we've been rejected a lot of times too, in terms of like a standard someone else is looking for. But you kind of stop and go, like, there's something in me. I can't just like.
You don't turn it off.
No.
And I know that about you guys too. It's like we can't. It's funny. Somebody gave me this book once called "Letters to a Young Poet," and I'll pass it on to you guys because I think it would resonate with you. But it's basically a book. It's a series of letters to a young poet. But an older poet was writing these letters of encouragement to a younger poet, and basically, the essence of the letters were a challenge to that poet to see how badly he needed to write. And he was basically saying, like, if you didn't write, would you cease to exist? Would you, is it like air that you breathe, And so I read that book once, and then I tried to go 2 weeks without like writing a song. And I remember, it's funny, in my marriage, my wife can tell when I haven't like been writing, because my mood can change a little bit. But I feel like, rejection or validation, I was going to still keep moving forward because music was my passion. And I know I think that's maybe one of the reasons why, we connect, and I see how hard you guys work, and I know I'm working hard. And I think it's like, that's a real, it's not one of those, could we take it or leave it? It's like, no, like, we love this.
Yeah, if you're doing off stage what you hope to be doing on stage, that's probably a really good sign.
That's a really well put. That's exactly right.
Have you always written? Like, is that something you did like from the very beginning?
Songwriting?
You grew up outside Chicago, right?
Yeah, I grew up in southern. It would be south. Is that south of Canada?
South Canada, yes.
We're gonna bring the Canada to let's just
I'm
go in there.
I'm
It's
sorry.
too
I always
easy.
do it.
No, I love it.
No, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and I was more interested in sports growing up. So,
Yeah.
musically speaking, I was a bit of a late bloomer. I think I sang like through junior high and things like that, but I didn't. It kind of came easy to me, and it wasn't during a time when, like, if you had a musical gift, like at least at my high school, it was, choir wasn't cool,
Right.
So it was more like,
Right.
so it was sort of strange. Like I would just get the lead in the musical, but like I was kind of embarrassed of it, but I still did it, and so I would like tell my coach, "Hey, I got to leave practice." But don't tell my teammates why.
Yeah.
And so I would do music, but I didn't get passionate about music until I discovered songwriting. And that was like my senior year of high school, and then my 4 years at a university. And I think what it was for me was singing somebody else's like songs only got me so excited. So
Sure, yeah.
I would sing Stephen Curtis Chapman's,
Right.
To his background tracks or these other artists, and I would sing at weddings and funerals and things like that, and sing at my dad's church because my dad's a pastor. But when I started putting my own words to music, that's when I was like, okay,
Yeah.
Light goes on.
That's when a light went on for me. So
Yeah,
I think songwriting has been that was a fire starter for me.
Yeah.
In college, I had to sing in classical music, and I had to sing in 5 different languages, and I just could never. No offense to classical music, it's beautiful, and the arrangers and the composers of those pieces, brilliant, like 10 times beyond any sort of talent that I have. But I could never find my way into the songs emotionally, and therefore I could never remember the words to these arias and the songs that I had to sing. So my professors would get so mad at me because I'd be singing this Italian aria, and they said I had a real gift for it, except I couldn't remember the words, so I would make up words in the middle of the song that sounded Italian to me. Like literally I was singing Starbucks drinks. Like I was singing Starbucks drink orders in the middle of these songs, and it just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't.
Yeah.
Even if I looked up the meaning of the
Ave
word,
Venti doesn't have the same ring to
as
it.
Ave Maria, Ave Venti Cappuccino, and the judges would just like my professors would judge my final exams, and they would just shake their head because they knew I was
They
going to
probably
do
thought
pop
you were.
music.
Did they think you were goofing off?
Yeah, I think they knew.
Like you were so naturally talented at it, but
That I was sort of I think they thought I was maybe like kind of sticking my nose up to what they
Sure.
were passionate about.
Sure.
But then, guess who got the Young Alumni Award? Like almost years later they called me, they're like, "Hey,
so
come get this plaque." And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
it's so true though. Like finding your voice as a songwriter and as a musician. Like here's the thing, because you can put something up on YouTube, but if you're actually making a career as this, you have to get up on stage
Yeah.
and embody your song.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think about that a lot. Like, I'm responsible. Whatever I'm putting in this song, I have to steward on stage, and I have
That's
to.
a great.
Like, so it's
Yeah.
really different. If you're songwriting just for other people, I guess it's a different thing. But if you're writing for you,
Yes.
and then you get up, it's a part of what you're presenting to
Yeah,
people.
and I think in Christian music, there's like an added responsibility that we're given
Yeah.
to, we're not just. I feel like people come to our concerts not just for songs or entertainment, but
Yeah.
for like sermons and church almost. And so I do
Yeah.
feel like there's, you can turn on like music that just is like feel good music that really doesn't,
Yeah.
you're not expecting, it's your expectations of songs are different in different genres. I think
It's true. Yeah.
it's like some songs, like, what other genre do you go to and expect that song to feed your soul like a 3-point sermon? And in Christian music,
It's
I do
true.
feel like we you know, I mean, what did we spend most of the time on today? Writing was the message, the
Absolutely.
crafting the message and the lyric. I love that about our
Yeah.
genre, but I also agree that it's like there's an added responsibility.
Yeah.
To me, a lot of times it's like, do I live up to the song I just wrote? Like,
Because you're singing this.
yeah.
Oh, I totally feel you. And there's different things. I don't know. I'd love to know your process, but He Is With Us started as really
I
a
love that
doubt
song.
and a fear and a trust issue. Like
Yeah.
it was not the song, it wasn't the anthem that you hear now.
Right, because
It
it's
was-
such an anthem of certainty in that
Yeah,
chorus.
Right.
He is with-
And I have to let people know before we sing it. I always have to say, this started as a doubt and turned into a testimony. It did not start as a testimony.
That's powerful.
It had to start here, and I had to learn how to be honest with the Lord, which I did not know how to do. I'm so glass half full in my perspective and my lens.
Right.
And I thought that faith meant no doubt. I thought that even when I prayed and wrote in my diary, like as a teenager, that it had to be like, but I know, God, it's going to be okay because I know your promises. And it's like, yeah, I know your promises in my head, but my heart in the middle of my situation,
That's
this
awesome.
is not working for me.
Yeah.
And it's in the tension of that
Yeah.
that song came from, you know. But anyway, I have to just let people know it's okay.
Yeah.
So like, I know this is sounding so like I've got it figured out, but I had to not have it figured out for a long time
Right.
to get here.
It's kind of what we were talking about, you know, when we were talking about the reality TV of like,
Yeah.
are we gonna allow ourselves to, you know, like the Bible talks about, working out our salvation with fear and trembling?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have it figured out, we're
Yeah.
working it out. And
Yeah.
you know, hopefully the
that's
people that
good.
listen to our music will allow us to do that in our music. And,
Totally.
and I think it's cool too, though. It's interesting you say that about that song, because I love how you could come through a period of doubt and write such a chorus of certainty, almost like you were reminding your own heart of the truth you know,
Right.
even in the times where you
Totally.
doubt it. Like, I love that God's word comes back to us in the moments of doubt, and we
Totally.
can sing it with certainty even if
Yeah.
we don't feel it with certainty. And it's funny, my pastor said on Sunday, even he said, he's like, man, he was talking about how sometimes he gets so discouraged that he doesn't live up to, you know, I think he said something to his wife. He's like, do I even live up to the messages that I preach? And she said, no.
Yeah.
But that's okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, okay. It almost helped me take a deep breath to go, you know what?
That helps me take a deep
You
breath
know?
right as you say it. Yeah, definitely.
It's one of the songs that I play every night from one of my records is called Do Something. And it's like this song of like, you know, action and like, you know, right now it's time for us to do something. And sometimes like I sing that and I feel like such a hypocrite because I'm like, well, what did I do today? I went to a coffee shop on the road and I sat on the tour bus. Like, did God, did I like, you know, feed the hungry? Did I, or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But I think beyond conviction is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then beyond that conviction is I think the humbling reminder that the fact that you feel convicted is a sign that your heart belongs to the Lord and that you want to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
But you're also humbly aware that you're not yet that.
Yeah.
And so songs,
Totally.
if we can write from the honest places and know that, you know, sometimes we're writing songs that are who we aspire to be.
That's a really good way to put it.
That's okay.
That's a good way
That's
to put
okay,
it.
right? You know,
Yeah.
we're all working in that direction.
Totally. I think that's so, I think it gave a lot of people like a deep breath because even as you were saying it, there's just times where in the working out of my salvation, I feel like I'm living in a tension that I haven't sorted through yet, but I'm on stage. And you're just
Right.
like, okay, I'm here and I'm, you know, trying to like entertain but be honest and vulnerable and be certain about promises and encourage and inspire people, but I'm in the middle of this tension in my own life. Like, have you been there and have like songs come out of that place, like almost trying to answer your own question?
Yeah, I wonder if that's like an added dynamic that our careers have that, you know, ironically now everybody kind of gives themselves a stage in terms of
True.
Social media. I feel like everybody's kind of got their own version of that public platform, but I do think it's different when we are on stage, especially I've definitely had times where I didn't feel like I should be on stage. Like just whatever happened that day of the show, the stress, or it's like you have a disagreement with my wife and and then I've got to go on stage. And I know that we didn't leave that conversation very well. Sure. But I also find those are the moments where I'm drawn to ask for God's help and not try to fly on my, like with my own wings that night. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then there's just such a strange irony to that, But I definitely feel like there's nights where you're wrestling with, and I'll tell you one thing specifically that I felt like God showed me, and I shared this with crowds in the past where, one of my prayers with my songs is that specifically that as I sing them, that they would shoot like arrows straight to people's hearts, that a certain song will be for that certain someone and just go right in that moment. Wow. And I've seen God work like that, but sometimes God answers our prayer and then some. And what I felt like God showed me one night on stage was that I was praying for arrows, but he gives me boomerangs. And it's like my songs, they go out and they might hit somebody in the audience. And when I least expect it, they come and hit me upside the head again. And a lot of times it'll be just when I'm singing songs, a lot of my songs are about one topic, which is God's grace. Just the reminder that he gives this endless supply, that his mercy's new every morning. I mean, if there's one common thread in my music, and I'll be glad if that is the case till the day my last song is written, that it's about God's grace. Yeah. But I do feel like those arrows turn to boomerangs, and
that's great.
I need that. And then I'm back in the moment. I'm not on autopilot. I'm not just singing a song I've sung 1,000 times. Totally. I'm singing a song that the Lord had me write for me, not just for the audience that's listening to me.
That makes total sense. I had someone ask, what's your favorite song that you've written? It's such a hard thing to answer.
Well, one of my favorites in recent memory is one that we wrote together. And
I cannot wait. We can't wait to share it with you guys.
We've written 2 songs now, and I love them both for different reasons. The one today is like so fresh that we'll probably come back to it tomorrow and be like, okay. You know what I mean? Like sometimes
my kids are going to love it. It's just so fun.
But there was something like the first time we wrote together, and I think we were both hearing her sing on this chorus that just kind of like, all of a sudden I was like, man, is the Lord coming back? Like,
just like picking ourselves off the floor. Like,
well, you just started playing your acoustic, and it was just, to me, when a song can be sung with just an acoustic or just a piano,
that's the best. Or
it can be turned into full production and it can live in all those places. You're like, okay,
Like I think we were talking about that that Star Is Born movie where like the songs are very like organic in nature. Yeah, I'm on a real like kick like that lately. Just in terms of I've been sitting at that piano over there a lot and just trying to like almost like go back to the beginning of when I wrote my first songs in my dad's church, in the sanctuary, sitting at the piano, and just like singing as loud as I could and doing that, you know, as opposed to trying to go for a certain kind of a sound. But as far as like my favorite songs that I've written, I would say, man, that's a really tough one.
Is there one that doesn't age? Does that make sense to say? Like, it just like it's always relevant for you.
That's a good. Well, it's strangely one of the newer ones is a song called "Broken Things" that feels like it marries, like, from a musical standpoint, it feels like it marries like this classic, timeless feel with some pop elements that I hope will age well. And I just, it's kind of almost hymn-like in the verse structure, so that really speaks to me. But the chorus is just like, I like to write these, I just like anthems. I like big old,
your
like,
choruses are massive.
I felt called early on to be a writer of victory anthems, like whatever that meant. I don't know what that meant, but I started to seek it out, and sure enough, victory anthems started to be written, you know. So, but when people ask me what my favorite song is, I usually return that with, like, you know, if some kid asks me that at a show, I'm like, well, what's your favorite? And then because I don't mean that as like with any sarcasm or a joke, but like honestly, like my favorite songs tend to be the ones that the audience tells me are their favorite. Yeah. Because
you wrote it to communicate.
Gosh, yeah.
Not just for yourself.
Right.
Totally.
So I would say, like, Hello, My Name Is has been a song that's like just resonated with people. There's just some songs that find a way. You don't know how. It's like, well, what separates that song from any of the others that I've written? Yeah. You and I, we don't know the answer to that. We hope, you know. Yeah. But that was one that, like, when it came out, like, it seemed like it caught fire in an interesting and deeper way. Totally. So that's a fun one to play every time I play it. Like, just to hear the crowd sing.
It's fun to be side stage and watch everyone enjoy it.
It's fun.
Because it's everybody's song. Like, in the audience, it's so clear. Like, the roof blows off, and it's just everyone singing their anthem.
Yeah, hello. That's just cool. And I don't take that lightly, because you hope to have one of those, you know. Yeah. And
totally.
But I think that's one that, I don't know, just always, that's probably one of my favorites. So, and then I would have a lot of obscure answers to that question too, because some of my favorite songs, and I'm sure some of yours, are the ones that, like, maybe the world didn't hear at large. You know, it's just a song that a song I wrote for my kiddo, or something. You just needed to write track 10 on my album that's never on the radio. So there's different answers for different moments. You know?
Totally.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask about, you know, you're such a storyteller, but you're also good at telling other people's stories.
That's true.
How and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Hello, My Name Is, and that album cycle kind of came out of gathering thousands of stories, like literally thousands of stories.
Yeah.
And writing from that kind of those perspectives.
Yeah, that
really cool.
That was like, and what's crazy is now that's like a steady and ongoing part of my creative process when I'm making a record. I think what's interesting is I had begun writing so much with other artists for their projects that I always struggled when I turned to my own records to feel like, okay, well, what do I do? Or what do I sound like? Or what?
Right, you've been entering everyone else's.
Yeah, and I think that's been an interesting part of my journey is finding my voice as an artist. And part of when that began to click for me was turning the creative process upside down. And for a season, instead of necessarily drawing inspiration from within my own story, turning that, I likened it to turning the microphone around. And the image I had was that moment when I'm on stage and, you know, you're playing He Is With Us, or, you know, one of the songs that, you know, the crowd is like ready to sing the chorus. And but that feeling when you get to hold the mic out and they sing for you, I imagined what that would be like in my creative process. Like, what if I held the microphone out and then they told me their story? And so that's what happened, and the stories came in, and they still come in. And to this day, like, I just finished a song yesterday for my next record that the first line says, "Let me tell you about William." And it tells the story of this kid, William, who came up to me in New Mexico, and his story was like, you know, he's like, I just want to tell you, you know, like, I wasn't supposed to live. You know, after I was born, I had a stroke, and the doctor said I'd never, you know, survive, but I survived. And then they said I'd never walk. And he said, he's like, I told my testimony at my church, and when I got to the part where the doctors told me I'd never walk, I dropped the microphone and I ran a lap around my church. And he said, and the whole church cheered for me. And I was like, this kid is like, I mean, and he's, you know, his arm is he's got some handicaps, got some disabilities or difficulties as a result of his obstacles, but he's like he knows that he's here for a reason. And what I'm usually moved by is like whenever I hear somebody's story that like reignites my belief in a God who reaches into our lives and he does miracles or proves his faithfulness or brings us through trials. I want to share that story with someone else. And so sometimes I share those stories literally in my songs, and sometimes I share them, by drawing. Hello, My Name Is was a story of Jordan's drug addiction, who went from All-American to drug addict, and the different identities that he struggled with in his life until he finally landed on the one that really matters. And he wrote it in his letter. Hello, my name is child of the one true king. I mean, like literally, I read that lyric or I read that line or sentence in his story, and I was like, I literally started singing, hello, my name is, like this victory anthem, so.
Wow.
Victory anthems, whether it's my story or somebody else's.
I feel that's really key though, because people asking like, how do I write a song or how do I do this or that? I feel like the moment where it crystallizes for you what your calling is beyond your gifting, those moments where God it's not always as clear as you want it to be. Sometimes it's just like repeated moments of like the hairs on your arms raising and going, oh man, I'm like touching on something here.
Yeah.
This isn't just me. This is a combination of like the mystery and Holy Spirit and me doing what he made me to do. And that's my offering. And
what a great way of saying it.
I feel like for songwriters that want to glean wisdom for you, I feel like you laid it out so well. Like you just kind of tried trial and error sometimes, right? You're writing and you're trying to find your voice and you're writing for other people, and then you kind of stumble onto this realization like, I think this is my special thing I get to share beyond a great song.
100%. And the connections that were made and have been made by opening myself up to the stories of other people's lives have been deep connections, lasting connections, and ones that have mattered far more than the songs themselves. I mean, honestly, it's and I think, so much about what we do as songwriters and artists can really be you can draw a parallel in our lives in general, in our spiritual walk too, of like, okay, what happens when we open ourselves up to be a character in somebody else's story and stop making ourselves the central character all the time.
Right.
I always tell pastors and youth pastors that what I learned, like from my experience of being a songwriter who collected people's stories, if a pastor asked his congregation or her congregation for their stories, he would have the next 10 years of sermons planned out. He would never have to wonder what he should preach about, because the church, the people in the church will tell you.
That's so true.
Which is why, like, did I ever think I'd be writing a song about divorce? No, my parents stayed married and I'm married to my wife, but yet that 16-year-old who wrote to me and asked me to write a song for all the kids who are caught between mom and dad's house.
Wow.
That gave me permission to write that song. Or the single mom who wrote to me about working 3 jobs because her husband walked out and her daughter's in the hospital from a car accident is what gave me permission to write about me not being strong enough. And asking God, and so that's like, I really think that that's a key component. And I know we've been on tour together. I've seen fans come up to you and say, let me tell you what this song has meant to me. And we get that chance to like, involve ourselves with people's stories or not. Yeah. We could also become a detached recording artist who gets more popular. And then as the more popular you get, the less contact you have. And I think that when that happens, you're cutting off a potential depth of connection and relationship with your fan base, but also maybe missing powerful songs that need to be written because they're telling you what they're going through. Right.
It's kind of an amazing cycle, because I feel like what you're talking about too is like learning how to love your fans, but just to love them and then them to love you back too. And it becomes more of a cycle than just like a I'm over here doing my thing, you know.
Right.
And you learn how to let, like, I haven't gone through divorce either, but someone like sharing me and being vulnerable about that, and then me entering that story, I all of a sudden have a compassionate heart and I see things differently. Like,
so much, yeah.
You're kind of opening yourself up to grow and have different perspective than you would have if you just wrote your story.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a really cool thing that you do. We haven't done as much of that. It's more been like personal stories of what we've gone through, but
and as you mine that, like, I think I used that illustration today of like, just like we're digging deep wells, and as we dig, we're gonna find different things that we need to write about, and sometimes it's gonna be that thing that jumps out at you because of somebody you met at a show. Sometimes it's gonna be like you're in a season of sharing your story and your family's story, and and so it ebbs and flows for me, you know. Like my last record was drawn from very personal inspiration. There's lines and lyrics and songs on my last record that are like, this is my story. Like, I'm sharing my story with you guys. I know maybe it's been a minute, but and then there's songs that are drawn from, you know, inspiration outside of my story as well. And so I've gone from like one extreme to the other, and now I'm at this place where my records, I think people might know that every record's going to have this element of story. But what's neat too is sometimes the more universal songs, you know, then somebody can hear He's With Us, and then go, okay, that I want to tell you, like, I went through a divorce, like you said, and that song. I mean, you probably get that so much,
like not as specific. It
always used to strike me, like when we first hit the road in this space a lot more, that people felt so comfortable to tell you, like, come up to your table and be like, you know, this happened, and it's like, whoa, like you just went from 0 to 100, like right off the bat.
Right.
But it makes so much more sense when you say it like that, because you've given them these songs that they feel that have gone straight to their heart, you know, like you said, the arrows have gone straight in, and it's like, you knew exactly what I was talking about. So
you said what I couldn't say.
So I need to tell you. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's like it's like you've already built up trust with that person. They've already gotten to know, love, and the outcome through your records that you put out. And so, because you're right, I think sometimes you're like, why are you sharing this with me?
A new friend conversation, but no, they feel like you're deep friends already.
Yes.
And that there's trust there.
And that's I think that's a great example of how God works through music, like the connection. There's
something about the signing line that barrier is gone.
The barrier's gone. Like people want to share. It's funny because I talked to one woman that makes me think of Jenny. Jenny from Austin, Texas. And Jenny wrote her story to me, and in doing so, she set free what she said was a 35-year-old secret about a pregnancy that she regretfully had terminated as a scared teenage kid. And the boy who got her pregnant didn't love her. She was growing up in church. She thought the church was going to judge her and her parents, and she made a choice that she's regretted for 35 years.
Wow.
But she heard me speaking at a conference and felt compelled to tell her story.
Wow.
And I was moved by her story, so much so that I wrote a song for her called The Healing Has Begun. And I called her to tell her. And she started crying. And I said, can I just ask you a question? And she said, yeah. I said, of all people, why would you tell me that story? And her answer, she said, well, I never thought you'd actually read it. And she started to cry, and she said, but I'm so glad you did, because I don't have a secret anymore. And so I do think that there's sometimes people might feel more comfortable walking up to you guys at a merch table than they would walking up to somebody in their small group or somebody at their church. And there's a need to set that free. The last thing I would say about that is I do feel like people are desperate to know that their story matters,
Yeah.
And for their story to matter, that means maybe their story could help somebody else. So they want to come and tell you, one, how your music's impacted them. Two, maybe you could, because that's what happened with me was I started collecting people's stories. People knew I was writing songs about it. And then people were going, well, maybe there's value in my story.
Yeah.
And
right.
I love that. If that's a chain reaction that's worth happening of people starting to swell with a sense of purpose,
totally.
even for the broken parts of their stories. Like if my music can serve in that, and if your music can serve in that, then I'd say that's a mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Maybe a mission we didn't even know we were on.
That's true. Man.
So good.
I read that, just the secret missions that God sometimes has us on, which is why it's so, I think it's in Isaiah, and he says he'll show us secret treasures hidden in dark places. And I think sometimes that's the key to knowing his voice and tuning into it more than any other.
That's awesome.
Being familiar with it, because from the outside, people just affirm what they know sometimes, and God's going, hey, but I'm calling you over here on this secret mission. You know what I mean? But we don't always see it in real time. It's like you look back and you're like, oh my goodness. Anyway, okay.
That's a good way of putting that. I love that. Secret mission, man. That's what we're on.
Yeah.
And we might not even know.
Yeah.
What we're on right
man.
now. By the way, I've been trying not to move because this leather couch.
And my leather jacket too.
I didn't want to so I apologize.
It's okay. It's not like a $5,000 Neumann. It's like
I can't. It's a not. It doesn't pick. It's not like dialed in enough to pick up the squeaks.
I mean, I hope it probably will, but I'll just filter them out.
Okay.
Well,
it's
I
cheap
know,
leather.
I can see your wife was getting dinner ready. We're you've been writing all day. Now can we do a podcast and can we stay for dinner? Just kidding.
No, you can stay for dinner if you want.
No.
You need to bring your kiddos over to the house.
It would be super fun. Thanks so much.
Yeah, could get them delivered here.
I'll tell you what, my oldest daughter is dangerously close to being a viable candidate for babysitters for you guys.
Oh man,
how do you feel
that would
about
be
that?
amazing.
About her caring for your kids, or just in general?
Just about getting that mature that you're like, you could actually look after.
This is another podcast, isn't it?
There's another one, yeah. My oldest is 13, and so so I wouldn't have her babysit your kids just yet. I tell you what, I feel like I'm amazed at the people that they're becoming. It's been super impressive.
Wow.
I won't go into details, but my 13-year-old, for each of my daughters, I have 2 daughters, and my buddy did this with his kids, but when they turned 13, he would take them on a special daddy-daughter weekend, wherever you want to go, right?
Yeah.
So my oldest daughter said, I decided where I want to go for my weekend. And I said, great, where? She said, South Africa, and I want to swim with great white sharks.
I mean, you said anywhere.
And I said, well, hold on, you can't quite get to South Africa and back in one weekend. So I should have clarified, anywhere.
You technically can't swim with great white.
You can't swim with great white sharks.
They swim around you.
And then you die.
You're in a giant cage.
Yeah. But she's fascinated with sharks, and she's fascinated with marine biology. I'm like, 13. Is this my kid? So so I'm caught between do I squelch her fearless spirit and say no way in the world am I getting in the water with sharks, or do I take her? So I took her.
Wow.
And we went swimming with sharks.
Wow.
And and just to speak to how impressed I am with my kids, they start teaching you things. And we were in the water, and I've never been more terrified in my life. We were at one point we had about 20 large bull sharks within feet of us, and I am freaking out. I mean we were in the water for 48 minutes, and we GoPro'd it the whole time. 48 minutes of a panic attack for me. I look over at her, and she's going,
no sharks in Lake Michigan.
Aww.
Yeah, but she had her
She's just loving it.
And she just was loving it, and I'm
Wow.
okay, so this is
what
what's
brings her
going
to life
on.
might not be the same thing that brings you to life.
I know.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's been an interesting thing, getting to the age, and part of that weekend was me talking to her about boys, which turns out swimming with sharks was the perfect analogy for for the dating world.
That is perfect.
And so I used that as inspiration. I said,
love
"Now,
it.
honey, The boys are the sharks, okay? There is no cage. I am going to be your cage. You know?
And then you could take it a step further. If they're willing to get in the cage with you, maybe they'll be okay.
Maybe.
Then we can talk about it.
Exactly.
I love it.
But yeah, it's been
You're
fun.
surrounded by females.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, only men.
You're the
and
opposite.
Yeah,
And you're
it's
the
true.
only, so
True.
that's a crazy
Did you
phenomenon.
think you'd have a boy?
I did, yeah. I grew up
Yeah.
in a male-dominated family.
Oh, man.
2 younger brothers.
Okay, yeah.
But I would say I wouldn't change it for the world. I love having girls. But there's moments where I'll just say to my wife, I'm like, I'm totally alone. Like, because
Right.
they'll
Oh,
go
man,
get their nails
and we
done.
rabbit trail on things for hours.
Yeah,
You're
and
just like,
you know, they're doing braids and they're
Yeah,
and so I
totally.
really have to like work to insert myself
I could totally
into
see
our
that.
activities because they're just gone doing girl stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'll say to my wife, like, see, I need a boy to go to a baseball game with, you know,
Yeah.
because I couldn't get him to a baseball
Yeah.
game to save my life. So, you know, but again, I wouldn't change it for the world.
You're awesome. Well, thanks for all the time today.
I know this has been a blast.
I learned so much. I told you, writing camp, it's like
So good.
Well,
awesome.
we're going to do more, and I'm just super excited for what the Lord's going to do and what He's doing through your ministry and your platform and your podcast and your music and the way that you share your life on socials and what we wrote about today about
I love
that
it.
authenticity. So I can't wait to dive into more songs with you guys and more
Us
shows
too.
together. We're going to do some more. We'll go to
Us
Canada.
too. Let's do it. Yeah.
We'll get
Only if your dad comes.
my dad will come.
Shout out
Both
to your
our
dad,
dads.
man.
Both our dads.
Yeah, that's
Papa
right,
Joe.
because our dads met each other on the road.
That's the first.
Yeah.
That's like one of the first festival shows we ever did.
That's
And-
right.
And your dad was there. My dad was there.
I think it was the
and-
Indiana State
was.
Fair.
Yeah. It was.
And Joel and Mook's dad was there. So it's like
That's right.
all the dads are here.
Yeah,
All the
it's true.
dads.
This is how they tour down here. This is great.
Families come. Hey man,
Man,
if you're able to have I know you bring your family with you guys, which is so important. And
Yeah.
you know, so my dad still tours. In fact, my dad lives with us, so he's over there in his apartment. Like,
Serious?
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
My parents live with us because when my dad comes on the road with me, my mom stays and helps with our
That's
kiddos, which
awesome.
is awesome.
That's a dream. We only have a shed in the backyard right now, but we got to work towards an apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so
Yeah,
awesome.
bees live in it.
Bees live in the
We
shed.
do have people living in our shed.
It's a little less
They're not very
fun.
good at taking care of kids,
I wouldn't leave
but
them.
well, they're good for honey. That's good, right?
Yeah. They haven't bothered us yet, so I'm like, well,
Just let it be.
Terminix is on standby.
Boom.
Let
There's
it
no
be.
better way to
No.
wrap
Okay.
this.
That was a horrible
I
ending.
love it. That's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, I'm
Thanks,
glad I
Matt.
was the first
the first
podcast
man in shorts.
man in shorts.
Yeah, or
But this
shorts
is
at all.
this
Man
kind
in
of got like the
shorts.
Pharrell like camo short thing.
Do I look like Pharrell?
I mean,
There
he
you
shows
go.
up to the Grammys like that.
He's
man.
high fashion.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I'm dad fashion.
You're totally. It's a combo.
Well, I think Man in Shorts should be the name of my new record.
That's definitely the podcast title.
Wait, what was your album going to be?
I can't believe-
Angel or Aliens?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
aliens of extraordinary abilities.
I love that as the name of your next album.
Milo would love it. He's all about outer space right now. So,
Oh yeah.
Alien.
well, from the man in the shorts. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Matt.
Oh, my pleasure. I loved it.